Shelly and I have done our research, and here are our pictures and some things we found out. We started at Friendship Baptist. They renovated a traditional worship space and made it into a contemporary one. We're going to look at that in a second. What they were most excited about was their lobby. They call it their connection space or their connection area center. Nice high ceilings and coffee service. They said that was very expensive, but very worth it. And they said they were going for a masculine vibe because they were finding that a lot of churches had much higher female population than male because a lot of men just did not feel comfortable in church. And so trying to make sure that both men and women can feel comfortable in the building was important to them. They also wished that they had higher ceilings in the sanctuary, but they were limited by what was already there in the building that they had started off with. You can see the edge of where the sanctuary was, where they had moved the wall out, and you can see where they replaced the baptistry. They needed more room on their stage. So their emphasis was on, if you're not limited by what's already there, make sure you're looking at how much space you really are going to need. And so high ceilings, big space, go for it. Also, they have these screens these aren't really screens, these are monitors, so big TVs instead of screens, and then smaller ones here for these side rooms. So that just gives you an idea of what that room looks like when you put it all together. We also visited Awaken Church. That is in the old Monkey Joe's building over off Clemson Drive, if you know where that was. They have nice, clear, attractive signage and a nice, big, welcoming lobby. The signage serves as decoration, but also is informational. That's welcoming and comfortable to know kind of where everything is. They emphasized everything being flexible. So, for instance, this is the guest services booth, and it also rolls out of the way because this is also their fellowship hall. And we probably don't need an extra fellowship hall, but it's nice to have you be able to use the lobby for other things if necessary. Their sanctuary, they had some challenges that they had to work through with acoustics. So they had sound people helping them with that, and so they've made it a very nice, inviting space, especially if you remember what it looked like with jump castles inside. They've done a really nice job making it basic but also very nice. This sign that they have right here, they change out those letters and can put other things on there for different times of the year. So again, flexibility is key. I like those chairs too. That was nice to be able to have that stuff there. They have a nice child registration area. I don't know that'll be significant for us because that'll probably be in another part of the church building, but I thought that was a really nicely done area and something to really think about what we need. These are their classrooms, and they also have a nursing mothers area. And so back to this entry area, which also serves as their fellowship hall. There's their coffee station there. Thought that was really nice. And again, nice clear signage. So that was Awaken Church. This is Grace Life Church. This is going to be their new building. They haven't opened yet. They're in a warehouse. I'm sorry, this photo looks like this. It's kind of a panorama. But so this is still under construction. But just to give you an idea of what it's going to look like, here's the lobby. This hallway leads to the sanctuary, and then over here this way a little bit, there's a door that goes into the children's Sunday school area. So again, this is a hall to the sanctuary. The sanctuary will seat 500 people, but in a few years, when they grow even bigger, they can move this wall out and the other walls as well. So they've made these movable walls, and they are keeping in mind the idea of expansion. This is their youth room. Again, they're still working on it. This is what the part of the warehouse looks like that they haven't renovated. It's just an honest-to-goodness warehouse, and they have the rest of this warehouse to renovate some other time. This is Malvern Hill Baptist Church. They went with a more traditional way of renovating their sanctuary, but I thought it was very interesting because their stained glass windows are no longer on exterior walls, which means they have a lot more control over both the light and the heat. And they have done some really neat things with their lighting system, and they have 100% LED lighting in there with lots of different colors and everything. And so even though they spent a lot putting all of this in, it's actually gotten to the point where it's saving them money, because even though they have a much bigger space than they did before, it's costing them less to light it and to heat it and cool it than it did before. You can see here, this wall used to be the outside wall of the sanctuary, and it was the same on the other side as well. So I thought that was something interesting to look at. This is St. Matthew's Baptist. They have a very, very traditional sanctuary, but their lobby is nice and big and inviting. I'm not sure how I feel about the color myself, but I thought it was a good space. So down this hall is Sunday school rooms, or it could be in our case youth rooms, and then this is the entrance to the sanctuary. So that's what that space looks like, and that's what it looks like from the front as well. This is Bethel Worship Center. They renovated a completely traditional worship space as well to make it contemporary. I really like what they've done here with these sound panels. This is the cross that was originally over the baptistry, and they wanted to make sure that they were, respecting the traditions of the church in their renovations. And they needed the sound panels anyway, so I think this is a really attractive option for them, and very creative. The pastor emphasized that lighting is key in setting a certain atmosphere in the room for worship, and so he really wanted to emphasize that. And we'll come back to this in a minute. That's kind of neat thing that they did there. His emphasis was on really taking time to plan and working with the professionals, with people who knew what they were doing and who would work well together. That's what it looks like with just the regular lights on. This right here is used to be their baptistry. They don't use it as that anymore, so they've pulled all that out. But and there used to be a little window back there. They didn't want to close this wall up because that was just going to be a big plain, kind of ugly looking wall. So instead, they hung these are just industrial pipes that they hung in this space. Really beautiful, but cheap and creative way to have like a focal point in the room. I thought that was really nice, nicely done. So this pastor emphasized planning ahead and thinking very carefully about everything you do. For instance, one of the things that he really liked was carpet squares, because he says you can pull them up and replace them easily without having to replace a whole carpet if something happens. So that's just a little side note that I thought was kind of interesting. So I have some youth rooms to show you, and we'll look at that in a second, but I just want to go over the tips that we heard, most of them more than once. So go bigger. The pastors wish they had higher ceilings, more room, that they had kind of planned for the future and thought about what kinds of expansions they were going to have to make and what kinds of changes in how they were using the space. Make the space manly, not to say that we don't want to be inviting to women. We just want to make sure we're inviting to men as well. Have a nice big welcoming space, lobby area, where people can gather and talk before and after church. Make a really good plan, think everything through, work with professionals that have worked with churches before and that will talk to each other. Lots of them, told us names of really good sound engineers and, even interior designers and such that they liked working with and thought had really improved the process. And lighting is key. And just kind of some funny little side points of interest. Because lighting is key, and you can't control lighting if you have windows. A lot of sanctuaries aren't having windows anymore, so I thought that was interesting. Lots of talk about sound and screens and projectors, and whether you wanted to use a projector or a monitor. And rear projection was also suggested by a lot of people, where they said they didn't have that option, but if they had had the room and the choice, that's what they would do. And decor can be simple and still convey purpose. And we saw a lot of nice examples of that. As one last little bonus, I'm going to show you a youth space that's in a giant church. We will not need a youth space that is this big right now. This is a huge church in Raleigh. But they have their own space for the band, and, so their own speakers, their own lighting, spaces to gather and do Bible study or meals, but also space for just gathering for worship. These are LED strips that light up, so that's kind of fun. And this is what the youth space looks like. Sometimes, I don't know, the wall is different in the back on that one, but that's that same stage. So they change it up a lot. Again, that's very dramatic, but it just gives us something to look at. There's also a really nice lobby area for the youth, and they have their very own check-in booth, and this is one of the smaller youth rooms. Probably more speed. There's lots of really cool stuff out on the internet. There's this Open Church website that has free floor plans. So like this is 366 person sanctuary, and then lobby and classrooms, and then this is a 500 person sanctuary and lobby and classrooms. And there's lots of other plans like this. I'll provide that website. And then we have lots of other websites to look through as well. Sorry this got so long, but I hope it was useful.